Austin, good to see you. We are still waiting for a deal before we hit a debt ceiling default. The federal government right now has just over a week before it hits an economically devastating default. And we knew this day would come because we hit that debt ceiling back in January. But the big fear is that federal spending will stop. A lot of us rely on Social Security and Medicare, of course. So, how should we prepare for the eventuality that the government does default on its debt?
Yeah, Aaron, I think there's a few things we all can be doing, right, to minimize the impacts of a potential debt default. Number one, which we hear a lot, right, is having that emergency fund in place. So
Mhm.
anywhere for a pre-retiree or retiree, I would argue that 6 to 12 months worth of living expenses, just kind of in a cash reserve account. And also one other thing would be minimizing that bad debt. So things that are very interest rate sensitive, right? Credit card debt, perhaps a HELOC or home equity line of credit. But really, this government debt default shouldn't change the equation for us, right? These are items that we should be doing all along throughout our financial planning journey. We always want to have that emergency fund in place, and we always want to be working towards minimizing that bad debt. So I would argue that these are things that you should be doing already, and really this government debt default or debt ceiling should not change that equation for you.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Just to see, though, what $31 trillion in debt looks like, here's a look at the US debt clock, which always gives me so much anxiety. But so, Austin, right now, then, are you advising people consider more defensive investments?
Yeah, and that's a very good question. And I think one that's rational, right? When we hear these headlines swirling around, it causes us, as you just mentioned, right, just as well as this chart, a lot of anxiety, right? Should
Mhm.
we be doing something different? And I think this kind of ties into our first point, right? Is we should be reviewing all of our financial lives at least once per year, perhaps twice per year. And that goes for our investments, right? A debt ceiling should not dictate whether we're going to increase our stock exposure or decrease it, right? Because we know that should not be defining our long-term investment strategy. We want to be setting that and reviewing it again at least once or twice per year. And these short-term moves in the market certainly will occur. They always do, but we want to be sure that we have our risk tolerance aligned with our investments. And if we do, then we
Mhm.
really should not be making substantial changes to that allocation just based on short-term fluctuations.
Right. In case anybody is keeping score at home, the ceiling has been raised 86 times since 1960. So, you bring up such a good point, Austin, which is the importance of having a plan because then it makes it easier to stick to it. So, if somebody wants to talk to you about creating this financial plan that is in line with their risk tolerance, what's the best way to reach you?
Yep. So you can email us at info@patriotwealthnc.com or give us a call at 919-322-4113.
All right. Austin, thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.